Now we will talk about what is platform independence. To understand the concept of platform independence, we have to know how Java program executes or run on a specific machine, which in turns need to understand how any program executes on a particular machine. Programs generally runs over operating system. OS takes care of the hardware. However, program never uses hardware directly. Program never communicates with hardware directly. They always communicate with OS, and OS communicate with hardware via some system calls. Now, the most important point that we have to understand, both OS and program reside in the main memory. In main memory, operating system already exists. When you double click on any particular application, it starts running. It means a program is executing in the main memory under the control of operating system. The program has to communicate with OS in order to access resources like monitor or say keyboard, anything. Say program wants to display something onto the monitor. Then it has to hand it over the content to the operating system, and then operating system take the responsibility to display the content onto the monitor. The same thing happens when a program wants to fetch something from the keyboard. If your program is active at that moment of time, if you are typing something using some keyboard, OS stores the content and then afterwards it will supply the content from the keyboard to the program. Therefore, remember one thing, program never access the hardware directly. So this is the way program communicates with OS. OS communicates with hardware, and here some specific system calls are used. What is system call? I will explain it later on. The question here is how Java program runs? The answer is very simple. This architecture that I have explained how any general program run, it will be modified a bit. Java program runs above JVM. That is, the major difference here is program will not communicate with OS. JVM will communicate with OS and the program communicate with JVM. Then the OS allows the program to access the hardware. To comprehend the platform independence concept clearly, let's take an example of C programming. Say this source code is written on the Windows machine, and the machine code after compilation that will be generated, that can be only understandable by the Windows machine. No other operating system like Linux or Mac could understand this particular machine code. So remember, if the source code is executed in Windows machine, the machine code generated in .exe format can only be understood by the Windows machine. No other operating system can understand. The executable code is not independent of operating system. That's why it is not understandable by any other OS. Now, in case of Java, the main advantage is if a.java source code is written, then after compilation we will get a particular bytecode with a.class extension. Say This bytecode is generated for Windows operating system. Now there we will have a particular JVM that will convert the bytecode into a particular machine code so that we could get the corresponding output. Now, if this source code is executed on Linux machine, then there will be a JVM for Linux machine that will interpret the byte code into a machine code so that we will visualize the output. So what we will understand from here, JVM is dependent on operating system because for executing a source code in Windows machine, we need a JVM compatible with Windows OS. That in turn interprets the bytecode to get the output. For executing the same source code in Linux operating system, we need a JVM compatible with Linux. And that in turn again interpret the bytecode to get the output. So JVM is dependent on operating system. However, the interpreted bytecode is independent of all operating system. So basically Java uses two-step translation process. First generation of bytecode and then interpretation of bytecode. Now we have to understand why we need platform independent programming language. The next question is importance of platform independence. It will be clear if you consider a distributed system. Now what is distributed system? I will explain. First, let's consider internet. Internet is a network of network. What does it mean? Say a company may have their own network. They connect their machines in a single network. Later, people started connecting their machines from different geographical locations to create a very big network, which is known as internet. Now, what is distributed approach? If you have two programs and if they are running into different machines, we need them to run as a combined module in another machine, then this type of application is known as distributed application. That is, single applications whose modules are running in different machines and together they are working as a single application is known as distributed application. It is only possible via internet. See this diagram? Now, what Java is playing a role here? When internet was growing, everybody is not using the same operating system. They are using different operating systems. Some of them are using Windows, some of them are using Mac, but they are trying to connect their systems in the internet to share information. The problem they are facing at that time while sharing the data through the internet is incompatibility. So Sun Microsystems developed Java programming to share this incompatibility problem by imposing the concept of platform independence. People then started writing new applications in Java so that those applications can run on any hardware or any operating system. So Java became famous as it solves the problem of incompatibility feature for the internet. Take a short recap. What is platform independent? Say we have many machine and say in one machine source code is written. After compilation of the source code, we will get the bytecode. And if I take the bytecode in different machine, even if those machines are geographically apart, Then if the architecture of those machines are different, then also we will able to see the output of Java programming language. And I have already explained, whenever you have your bytecode, JVM will take the responsibility of the interpretation of this bytecode. Source code is not required at all. So why Java is important, I think it is pretty much clear to you.